Well, good afternoon. It's Crazy Cheap Chick, and today I made apple butter. It's been a long time since I made apple butter. I had forgotten how easy and delicious it is. But it's an all-day process, so you've got to be home all day because you've got to be able to stir that pot and keep it from sticking. But it is so much better than store-bought apple butter because it's spicier. You taste the cinnamon, you taste the cloves, you taste the allspice, and it is so good on fresh baked bread. And so I'm baking some bread too. We're going to start just by cutting and peeling some apples, and we're going to boil them. This apple's fine. People throw away too much food. We'll just cut off any bad part. All right, once we cut up those apples, then we're going to cook them, but we're going to cook them in apple juice. I usually just pour in enough to kind of cover them. Yeah. Just like that. And we're just going to bring them up to heat. And I'm also going to put in a little bit of apple cider vinegar. You don't need very much. That's probably half a cup, maybe. Quarter cup even. And when I say bring up to heat, I mean up to a boil. You're going to bring this to a boil and let the apples cook. It's probably going to take 30 minutes or so. Okay, so the apples are cooked, and now we're going to, what I had hoped to do was to get my immersion blender out and use it to blend these. And I have looked high and low, and I can't find it. And I am convinced someone broke into my house and stole it. I have no other explanation. It's been in the same place for years, and now it's gone. So anyway, back in the day, we didn't have immersion blenders or stick blenders. We had beaters, and that's what we're going to use today. We're just going to use these, and we're going to blend this. Now that would have been a lot easier with an immersion blender, but I managed to accomplish it with a regular blender, only I splattered it everywhere. It's kind of thin, and I wish I would have drained out a little bit of that apple juice mixture, but that's okay. It just means it's going to have to cook a little longer in order to boil down to the consistency of apple butter. But we haven't even added anything to it yet. And I went ahead and added the rest of that apple juice. There's like a little bit left in the container, and I'm like, what am I ever going to do with this? So that's probably why it's a little thin. Now we're going to add 4 cups of sugar. Now, when I say add 4 cups of sugar, you know I'm always approximate. This is a 3.5 cup measuring cup, and it's a little over 3.5 cups. But I always say measure with your mouth, measure with your tongue. You know, it's always easy to add more. It's hard to take any away. So that sugar is going to thicken it up quite a bit. And now we're getting ready to add all the spices. Now my husband, who loves apple butter, I'm take it or leave it kind of person on apple butter. He says the reason he loves apple butter is because homemade apple butter is kind of spicy. You can taste the spices in it. The first spice we're going to add is just cinnamon, and that is a tablespoon. And this isn't fancy cinnamon, this is Kroger cinnamon. And next we're going to add some allspice. That's about half a teaspoon of allspice. We're going to add that in, and we're also going to add in a half a teaspoon of ground cloves. I'm going to stir that all together, and then I'm going to taste it, and I may make adjustments. I really kind of want to add some ginger in there. I just can't do things normal. Now there's still a little bits of apple in mine. It's going to be a little bit chunky. You can blend it until it's perfectly smooth if you want perfectly smooth apple butter, or you can leave chunks. It's totally your preference. Okay, I'm going to taste this concoction. Not too bad. And I don't like apple butter. So I'm going to bring this up to a simmer, and it is going to simmer It's probably gonna take 2 or 3 hours to simmer down. You know, I just gotta be me. I'm gonna put a little bit of ginger in there. I think we're about there. This has been cooking for, I don't know for sure, 2 or 3 hours. And it's like candy almost. I mean, you've got to keep stirring it pretty constantly. So every 15, 20 minutes, you're going to need to go give it a stir or you're going to burn it. But this is getting nice and thick. Well, I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. Now, this is one of those projects that you've got to be home all day for. It's not something you can go off and leave. It's not something you can start and stop. It's something that you start in the morning and it takes it all day to boil down, and you got to be stirring it every half hour. But it's worth it because it tastes marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. Now, just so I'm clear, you would have to process this in a water bath, you know, put it in a pot with some water and bring it up to boiling and let it boil for about 15 minutes, and then it would seal, and then this would last for a good long time. If you don't do that, you know, it's only going to be good for 7 to 10 days. And I'm not going to process this because I'm going to give some away, and because I just don't feel like it. Thank you so much for watching my video all the way to the end. I really do appreciate it. Please give me a like, share, comment, or consider subscribing. That would help me out a lot. I'll see you out with a little footage from around the farm. I'm starting to get a few seeds poking their heads out. Now, this is a ton of starts. And these 4 flats right here are all tomatoes. So can you imagine that many tomatoes if they actually make it? That's a lot of tomatoes. Oh my goodness. What was I thinking? So far my banana I brought back from Florida is making it. And this tropical is still trying to make it. And this one is still, it's got just a little bit of growth on it. And I've managed to keep both my lime and my orange tree alive from Florida. Only thing that didn't really do very well, whatever this plant is called, I don't know if it's gonna make it. It and another one that my brother-in-law gave me, I don't think they made it. We're going to get a ton more rain tonight, so might add a little bit more to it. It's pretty today, though. Creek's running pretty strong today. Finally, some signs of spring. These little miniature daffodils are pretty. I remember buying these. I think I got them at Dillon's for like $1 a pot or something, you know, how they always have flowers. And my idea was someday they would spread all over this hillside. So I've got daffodils and tulips coming up, daylilies coming up. So the hope is someday this will be a hillside of color, but that's going to take time. Kind of a pretty sunshiny day. Someone target shooting.